Good viewers all over the world. We want to look at the formula, what that method, what we use to resolve problem under bearing. So for us to be able to calculate bearing, if the bearing can be one directional, two directional, or multiple directional. So if you want to resolve any problems under bearing, we make use of the knowledge of sine rule. We use the knowledge of sine rule, and we also use the knowledge of cosine rule. So if you have a triangle, when you interpret a particular question in the form of a triangle, and if that triangle is not right angle, so we cannot apply Pythagoras theorem. We go ahead and apply either of these two. Sine rule, under sine rule, we have sine rule to be A all over sine A, to be equal to B all over sine B, which is equal to C all over sine C. Where small ABC are sides, while capital ABC are angles. Okay, that is sine rule. Then the second one, when you have cosine rule, when we have cosine rule, the formula for cosine rule is that when we have small a here, the small angles, the square of the small angle will be b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Then if this is what you have, b squared, it will be a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cos b. Then the last one will be c squared to be equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos c. That is what you are going to have. Okay, these are the formula for sine rule and cosine rule. So it now depends. There are conditions that must be considered whenever you want to use this sine rule. There are some conditions. Okay, there are conditions. Sine and cosine rule. There are conditions that we'll consider. Okay, so in our next video, I'm going to give us the conditions. When do we use sine rule? When we have a triangle. When do we use cosine rule? So there are conditions that must be satisfied before we use sine rule and before we use cosine rule. So I'm going to list out the conditions so that whenever you want to interpret question, want to solve problem under bearing and distance, you will know when to apply sine rule and when to apply cosine rule. It depends on the number of sides and angles that we are given, and the direction and the location of those angles or sides. That will determine either you have to apply sine rule or cosine rule. So this basis must be, you must have the foundation before we go to calculations under bearing and distance. You must know how to identify a particular bearing, the method of resolution. How do you resolve this problem before we go into examples? Thank you.